What's up everyone? Chris from Duckalope Outdoors. We got another good one for you today. I've been doing a lot of thinking about how to explain regulations and laws and licensing to newer hunters. As you all know, when you first get into waterfowl hunting or hunting and fishing in general, the thing that normally hits people is the game warden getting in trouble, the laws, tickets, that sort of thing. So I'm gonna try to explain how to hunt in Maryland on the Susquehanna Flats the best I can when it comes to laws and regulations. I know there's gonna be a whole lot of other stuff that I haven't touched on. So if you have other questions, just leave it in the comments. I'll do some research on it. We're just now starting to hit that point where they're gonna be releasing the new regulations. We're going off the 19 to 20, which they're not gonna change too much on us. So with the 19 to 20 laws and the regulations on the Susquehanna Flats, it's not gonna be changing at all. I've already talked to the game warden about it. I've also talked to him about having non-residents hunting the Susquehanna Flats. So if body booting is something that you would like to get into or like to try out at least once, this would be definitely a good video for you. But before we get into it, I do want to give a shout out to Northern Waterfowler. They sent me this awesome shirt. This is the front of it. I wear a medium. I'm about 5'5", 5'6". I weigh 140 pounds, so it fits me like perfect. It's got awesome material. It fits the arms nicely, so you know it's not too short, not too long. The length of it, you know, it comes down. Here's my waist. I got about another 3 to 4 inches below that. So if you're into tucking in your shirt, that sort of thing, it'll work. But as just for a normal t-shirt, it works out. And here's the back. They got an awesome design. The customer service is awesome. I've talked to the guy that runs it quite a few times, and so I figure I at least put out his brand out there. They do some good work, and it's not like your cricket type iron-on. This is actually like the real, like printed on. So it's gonna last a decent bit. But go check them out, Northern Waterfowler. I'll leave their link to their Facebook and their website in the description. Make sure that you let them know Duckalope Outdoors sent you. So this is the way that the hunting license is set up here in Maryland. So if you're a resident of Maryland, being you have a current address within the boundaries of Maryland, you can get a Maryland hunting license. If you're military like myself and you're stationed in Maryland, then you qualify for the resident hunting license. Now, if you're a non-resident, being that you live out of state or in Virginia, or let's say California, West Virginia, something like that, you can still hunt in Virginia with a non-resident license. But the thing to this is that if you've never held a Maryland license before, you can get an apprentice license. So if you look here on page 8, the page that we're on, and it's the middle section towards the bottom, it said non-resident apprentice hunting license. Ticket to this, being that you're only paying $20 for your first time ever getting a hunting license in Maryland. You do not need to take the full-on Maryland hunting safety course. It's a Maryland apprentice safety course. I'll leave the link to that below in the description. So if you're coming out here to hunt with Jeff Coates out there on the Eastern Shore, or you know you're hunting with somebody just within the state, whether if it's deer hunting, waterfowl, whatever, you can go this route and save a whole lot of money just on your first time. Now, after you've held this apprentice license, you cannot get it the second year. You have to buy the out-of-state, the non-resident hunting license, which on the third column, about midway down, it says non-resident hunting license is $130. So, of course, the price jumps way up. The other thing to this is if you look on the third column towards the bottom, it says other hunting license. You can get the non-resident 3-day waterfowl and small game license. It's $45. So let's say you go ahead and use up 1 year your non-resident apprentice hunting license for the first year, and you plan on coming back out another year, whatever later on down the line, you can get this non-resident 3-day waterfowl license for $45 instead of paying the $130. Now, once you buy your hunting license, then the thing that you need with it is the stamps. The way that this reads is you need the duck stamp and you need the migratory game bird stamp. Each state has its own migratory game bird stamp. Virginia has one, Maryland has one. So Maryland, the migratory game bird stamp, which is on the right column about midway down, it's $9. So that's the first stamp. The second stamp that you need is the federal migratory game bird and conservation stamp. You can buy it at the post office or you can order it online. If you see it, it's on the right-hand column all the way at the top. If you buy it from the post office, it's $25. I've looked around right now, so if you're watching this video and it's very new, being I just posted it, you're probably not going to be able to find it at the post office here in Maryland. I've called all the way from the bottom end of Baltimore City all the way up to Harford County, and none of the post offices have it right now. But I'll just wait for him to get in stock just to save the $2. But if you just go ahead and buy it off of the website, when you go and order your license, it will come in the mail. It will be annotated on your license. Once you get that stamp, you need to make sure that you sign it and you have it in possession. The new law states that you don't need to take the stamp off and put it onto your actual license itself. As long as you have it in possession and you sign it, that's the main thing. The reason for the signing is, let's say I have a buddy up here and he plans on hunting and I'm not going to hunt that day. I could technically hand off my stamp to him and he could hunt. And if the game warden stops him, he could show proof and that sort of thing. So the way that they stopped it is you have to sign it, and on your driver's license, of course, you have to, it shows your signature. They're going to bounce it off both things to make sure that you're not sharing a duck stamp. So just to go back through, you have your hunting license, whether you're in-state or out-of-state, being resident, non-resident. You have your 2 stamps, your federal migratory game bird hunting stamp and your state migratory game bird stamp. Once you have those 2, you have to do the HIP registration. The HIP stamp is free, and all it does is get attached onto your license. You need to make sure that it is on there. If not, you will get a ticket for it. But after having all 4 of those things, you should be good. So this is the offshore waterfowl hunting zone. To sum this up, this is the upper Chesapeake Bay. So while hunting in Maryland, let's see if I can get the screen to work here, on the Susquehanna Flats. So if you look on the left-hand side where it says Swan Creek and Plum Point, you'll see it's almost like a fork that comes out on the southwest side of Susquehanna Flats. That's Aberdeen Proving Ground. It's a military base. I would be very careful on fishing and hunting around this area because they do close it off and you have to be a decent ways off of the shoreline, especially when hunting. Fishing, I've seen guys take the Swan Creek all the way up in there, and they'll be fishing for smallmouth and largemouth bass and that sort of thing during the summer. And during hunting season, you can't really hunt that creek up in there because of the distance that you need to be off of the bank. Now, being that we're talking about distance in here, so the map I was showing you was the whole zone. If you see any yellow boundary, that means that you have to be 800 yards from the shore. If you see purple, that's 400. If you see orange, it's 500. The orange is typically your bridges and roads. The purple is where I'm going to be focusing on. That's where the Susquehanna Flats is. Let's go ahead and get this thing to load up. So at the very top of the Susquehanna Flats, where it kind of, you see that purple line goes away, and then comes back, and then goes away, and then comes back with all the different rivers that feed into it. The longest fork, the northwestern side of the Susquehanna Flats, that's the Susquehanna River that leads all the way up into Pennsylvania. If you see the purple line on the western side of the Susquehanna Flats, which that's where I'm going to be targeting, being I can get my kayak into that area, I have to be 400 yards off of the shoreline, meaning as soon as the water stops to an edge and you're on the shore, that's the 400 yard mark. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is at low tide, when you're hunting and it's at low tide right when you're throwing out the decoys and you're standing on dry land, you're technically out of regulation. So you have to make sure that the area that you're in at low tide isn't going to be visible, or you're only hunting in between high and like mid tide, so that way the water line doesn't go too low on you. The reason why I say this is because up out of Havre de Grace, they do have a little spot where the water level drops at low tide, and let's say it's a mean low tide, the shore will actually, you'll see ground, and it'll be all like muck. So just keep that in mind. All the different islands and that sort of thing. An island is still considered a shoreline. So just be familiar with, as soon as you drop anchor and you're throwing out decoys, 400 yards. Keep that in mind. The other thing about Susquehanna Flats, if you're a non-resident, you cannot hunt the Susquehanna Flats without being in the same proximity or in the same hunting party as another Maryland resident. So like, let's say I leave Maryland, I'm no longer a resident, I can't come back and hunt the Susquehanna Flats by myself unless if I have someone that lives in Maryland with me. And of course, hunting with me. You have to be within a close proximity. So I plan on bringing up Justin and Higgins up with me. They live in Virginia. They're going to be getting the non-resident apprentice license, and they're going to be able to hunt with me, even us, with us being on kayaks, as long as we're hunting over the same spread of decoys and we're in close proximity of each other, they're good to go. Now for the other things that you'll need while hunting on the Susquehanna Flats, I'm going to be doing some walking around, so just bear with me. I don't want to be juggling the camera while trying to drag some of this stuff out. But these are the basic things that you'll need when waterfowl hunting the Susquehanna Flats, or if you're waterfowl hunting pretty much anywhere, this sort of stuff will help. As you see up on the wall, that's a white rock decoy flyer. So pretty much the wings come out. It looks like it's gliding with the wind going by. It's almost like a windsock, if you've ever seen one of those. I do hook up I hook up that one onto the back of my kayak. I have a pole that it sticks into. And with the layout blind, if you've been looking at the H12 or the other Ascend where you can attach the kayak blind to it, I have the H10 and it works just fine. If you want to see that video, it's in my videos, of course. I've done a video on that. So I'll have the flyer up. I'll have the other two white rocks. Those attached to the actual blind. Let's see if I can point at them here. All right, so these two white rocks, decoys, they'll go on top of my blind. They connect into the webbing. I'll have one on the front, one on the back, and then I'll have this white rock flyer up in the air. So that handles me for geese, especially with the water levels like I was talking about before. The water levels get so low, so I'll actually look like a piece of land during low tide with the geese up on me and one flying in, so that it doesn't even look like a normal boat out there that's typically hunting them, because they are very wary of other boats and that sort of stuff. The other thing that you'll need while hunting the Susquehanna Flats or anywhere is a pair of waders. If you get a pair of waders, you want to make sure that you hang them up, because if you keep them folded, especially after they're wet, and you just fold them up and throw them into a bag, which like Rogers Sporting Goods has a bag like that. I'm sure they got some other brands too, where you just stuff your waders into. A lot of guys, when they get home, they're tired, they don't want to mess with the stuff, they just bring everything in and dump it into their garage. And you got to think, with neoprene, with it folded up like that, it's going to crack and mildew and all that sort of stuff. So you want to make sure that you pull out your waders, you hang them up and leave them hung up, because then that causes, it helps it not cause wrinkles and unnecessary bending on the neoprene, so they make it last a little bit longer. The other thing, especially if you're hunting on a kayak, if you see this, the blaze orange here, so what I did, I'm kind of cheap when it comes to this sort of thing. If you're looking online for a flag for your kayak, don't waste your time. Go get yourself some 1/2-inch electrical conduit, drill yourself 2 holes so that way you can throw a zip tie to it. Walk back to the sporting goods at Walmart, get a hunting blind. It costs like $2, or a hunting blaze orange vest. It costs like $2, and just zip tie it to it. And the it's actually a little bit bigger than the actual kayak flags that you'll get. So once you're anchored up and you're paddling back, it keeps other boaters from running into you. As for the actual decoys, what I've been using, this coming season I plan on using V-boards. So if you follow Jeff Coates, I've mentioned him before. He's big on V-boards and making his own decoys out of wood. But V-boards is the way I'm going to be going this season out here. I have posted up another video on that, on how to make them and what they look like, actually deployed in the water. I'm going to be running geese come at the beginning of September, and then once duck season opens up, I'm going to split my V-boards in half. I think I have a total of like 22 V-boards that I can carry in the kayak with me. So I'm going to probably do 10 of them with ducks, and the other 10 to 12 with geese on them. Because the geese out here on Susquehanna Flats, they want to see a whole bunch for them to actually come in and give you a chance to shoot. I have went out with floaters with the kayak, and I just can't carry enough in the kayak to be able to even make them think to come into me. You'll see them across the bay coming, and wherever they got their crosshairs set, they'll just keep going unless if you got a whole bunch of them out. As for floating ducks, I normally say sea ducks. Some people get on me, they're like, nah, they're divers. Up here, you get everything. You get divers, sea ducks. You also get the puddle ducks. So what I'll do is I'll throw out some floaters. I got the normal mallards here. These are your greenhead gear. It's made by GHG. I got them at the end of waterfowl season. I picked them up super cheap. As for the weights, depending on where you're hunting, sometimes you need a lot of length to it. These weights or the decoy line is as long as I could get them. I think it's like 36 inches or 38 inches, something like that. The other ones are 40, 42. I started making my own, and my own decoy weights itself made out of cement. So it's a little bit more environmental friendly, since obviously lead is bad. Especially around this area, we have tons of bald eagles, and a lot of them get tested and they end up testing positive for having a whole bunch of lead in their system. So I'm just trying not to add to it. Let's see, so we talked about decoys, talked about the waders. Also, if you plan on body booting, some people wear the full-on, like you're scuba diving, like the full-on vest. It's got like a zipper, it's got it coming all the way down to your wrist, and it comes up to your neck, so that way they can get out there in super deep, deeper water where it's 4.5 feet, and and wait out there in the water and wait for them. The other things that you need, obviously, is a PFD. Safety first. Don't go out on a kayak or a canoe or wherever and not have a life vest with you, because you never know what can go wrong. The weather could change, the wind, the current, the tide, and it will turn an awesome experience and an awesome hunt into the worst day of your life and could end up losing your life. So always wear your PFD or have one available. The other thing, which is pretty cool, I didn't get too many views on YouTube yet with it. This is not a necessity, but it's a cool thing to have. It's pretty much a power station. So some people call it a kayak battery box. Other people just call it a charging box. So if you have batteries in your Mojo or know what they look like. So that's my battery down in there. I got the 2 plugs that plug into it. I keep my cord in there to be able to charge my GoPro, my phone, and also I have a little portable speaker so that way I can play music while I'm paddling around in my kayak. And you cut the bad boy on. As long as it's fully charged, you have a cigarette lighter and USB, 2 USB ports, and also some other SAE ports here, just to charge up different stuff, whether if you're running a trolling motor or whatever. But that's always handy to have, especially if you do a lot of recording or your wife is texting you a lot. You can hook in your phone, make sure your phone doesn't die, wife doesn't get mad, happy wife, happy life. But as for the blind, I'm not gonna pull everything out because it's just, I've got all the other videos are already done. Just click on the video tab, search down below, and you can see pretty much everything I've been working on this summer since the end of waterfowl season. Another cool thing to have, my wife just picked these up for me. This is the Walker game ears. So these bad boys, they're like water resistant, they're not waterproof, so obviously I can't dunk them. You put them on, you cut the volume up, and you can talk to your buddies next to you. You'll be blowing duck calls and goose calls, and what it will do is once it hits a certain frequency, it will cut off the voice with the speakers. It will cut everything off, and it acts like normal earmuffs. So that's something cool to invest in. So that way you're not out there in the duck blind saying, "Huh? What? What'd you say?" So another cool thing to look at. As for decoys, the thing I really like to get into is silhouettes. So if you haven't looked into silhouettes yet, it's definitely something to look into. The silhouettes that I like to get into is Big Owls. They're made in the USA. That's the big thing. All these huge companies, the ones where all your typical fanboys go to, most of their stuff is made out of the States. So if you're a homegrown American like myself, I like to at least try to buy as much as I can made in the United States and also support the smaller businesses. But the quality on these, they're good to use on the V-boards. I can really pinch down on them, it doesn't ruin them. They also hold up to the wind that's whipping by out there on the water. It's different than typical throwing them in a field, like having them on the water with the corrugated board. So with them being thin, if you have thinner products like Dive Bomb, the wind out there on the water, it's not as protected as it is out there in a field. So these are gonna hold up a lot better for you. I'm not just pushing this product just because I like Big Owls and because I've given him my business. It's because of their quality. So I don't want to push people in the opposite direction and be like, well, it's always good to explore everything. And, being an Army recruiter, I'm like, hey, explore all the branches and then come talk to me. But as for these, it's like, yeah, you can go look at the other ones, maybe save, 20 cents per decoy. But at the end of the day, if you want quality, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more. And as for the customer service, you can't beat it. I had an issue with my first ever order with Big Owls, and I was like, hey, this happened. And within like 3 days, I already had the correction come to my doorstep. So that alone, and that goes with any product, whether if you're buying a crossbow or whatever, customer service is really, really what gets me. And then also, they throw on extra stuff into their box too, like stickers and that sort of thing. And I'm a big sticker person. As for the Northern Fowler, they throw on stickers with the shirt that they gave me. So it's kind of free publicity for them. So why not, why not send some stuff in? And that's another thing that you got to keep in mind when you're starting out waterfowl hunting. So of course the reason why you're watching this video is because you want to see the laws and regulations and how to get into it and what to look for. So just don't, because your buddies are they're heavy into one certain brand, like you want to look and see what else is out there, because you may end up stumbling across something that is better or that fits your needs, because everyone's different. So like not everyone shoots a Benelli, some people shoot the the Remington. So it just all goes on personal preference, but that's my preference for decoys. The last thing that you will need when starting out waterfowl hunting is duck calls. And as you can see, if you go to Bass Pro, or if you still got Cabela's around, if you just walk in there, you'll see a whole shelf full of a million different duck calls and goose calls. Find, like I said about decoys, find a call that sounds like a duck or sounds like a goose to you when you blow it, and if it sounds good, it will more than likely work. The brand I like to go with is JT Calls. I've done videos on him before. I've tried out everything from Buck Gardner, which are your cheaper calls at Bass Pro. I've tried Duck Commander. That's like your mid to higher end. And then you can get into your super higher end where the duck call costs $150, $200, and that's some of your like custom things. But just don't fall into the trap of the looks. So just because it looks cool, it's gonna call in ducks for you. It's not the case. It is cool to have something with a little bit of design hanging off the lanyard, but at the end of the day, when you blow it, does it sound like a duck or does it sound like a goose, or are you just buying into the name and wanting to look cool? So definitely do your research on that. So just stay open-minded. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'm sure you are gonna roast me about a certain type of decoys I go with, or because really the only thing I duck call and a goose call I blow now is JT calls. But hey, that's what fits my fancy, and I feel like it works for me, but something different may work for you. That's just my advice. But until then, please share this video, get it out to as many people as possible. We're trying to grow this thing, so like, comment, share, as you always hear on all the different other videos. For Duckalope Outdoors, we're just a group of guys that want to share information and get everyone to love a sport and help each other out. I'm going to give you, if you ask a question, I'm going to give you the best advice that I have, and if I don't know the answer to it, I'll ask Justin or Higgins, and if they don't know the answer, I'll push you to someone else. Other people that I follow have definitely given me a lot of information, like Freelance Duck Hunter, Virginia Outdoors Unlimited, Thomas down in Virginia, Jeff Coates out in the Eastern Shore. So there's people all across the states with tons of information, and they have their way of doing things, and we have the way that we like to do things. And we're not in it for the money, even though we probably will get into making the hats and the shirts and the decals just to spread the name out. And it's more so just you're going to be paying for the material. I'm not going to be making any money off of it. It's just trying to create a community for us. But I do appreciate all the support, and y'all stay safe out there and have a good one.